Right. Imagine you're Rachel Reeves, sitting in your Treasury office, calculator in one hand, stress ball in the other, trying to find £50 billion down the back of the national sofa cushions, when suddenly, boom, Britain's entire horse racing industry decides to go on strike. Not your average Tuesday, is it? The Sport of Kings has just declared war on the Chancellor of the Exchequer, and honestly, it's like watching David and Goliath, except David's wearing riding boots and Goliath desperately needs a pocket money. Welcome to the most British rebellion since someone first complained about queue jumpers. Now, before you start picturing horses holding tiny protest signs with their hooves, let me break down this absolutely bonkers situation that's got more drama than a soap opera written by someone who's had too much caffeine. 4 major racing events across the country, Carlisle, Uttoxeter, Kempton, and Lingfield Park, have all been cancelled faster than a picnic in a thunderstorm. We're talking about a coordinated strike that would make trade unionists weep with pride, except instead of miners or railway workers, it's jockeys, trainers, and owners staging the most posh rebellion in British history. The reason for this equestrian uprising? Rachel Reeves wants to jack up betting taxes from 15% to 21%, and the racing world is having about as much of it as a vegetarian at a barbecue competition. It's a tax hike that sounds modest on paper but hits horse racing like a sledgehammer to a champagne glass, because this industry is more dependent on gambling money than a Las Vegas casino owner is on tourist optimism. But here's where it gets really juicy. Reeves isn't raising these taxes because she's got some personal vendetta against horses, though at this point, she might be developing one. No, our Chancellor is desperately scrambling to fill a financial black hole so massive it makes the actual black holes in space look like minor inconveniences. We're talking about a whopping £50 billion shortfall that's got her counting pennies like Scrooge McDuck after a particularly expensive shopping spree. How did we end up with this Treasury nightmare that would give accountants panic attacks? Well, buckle up, because of a masterclass in political miscalculation. First, there were those costly U-turns on winter fuel payments that had more twists than a pretzel factory. Then came the welfare cuts that got reversed faster than a car in a cul-de-sac. And let's not forget the economic growth that turned out to be weaker than tea brewed with a single bag for an entire office. It's like watching someone try to balance their household budget while simultaneously buying a yacht, adopting 17 cats, and deciding to learn expensive hobbies. The horse racing industry, meanwhile, is more reliant on betting money than Britain is on complaining about the weather. Last year alone, the horse racing betting levy, that's the special tax that gambling companies pay on racing bets, pumped £108 million into the sport. That's not pocket change. That's serious money that keeps the entire industry galloping along. Without it, British horse racing would be about as sustainable as a chocolate teapot in a sauna. Enter Jim Mullen, chief executive of the Jockey Club, who's wielding warnings like a medieval knight wielding a sword. He's telling anyone who will listen that Reeves' planned tax hike will cause irreparable damage that threatens the sport the nation is, and should be, proud of. That's fighting talk from a man who clearly didn't get where he is by backing down from a challenge. It's like he's drawn a line in the sand, except the sand is made of horsehair and the line is made of very expensive legal threats. The numbers Mullen's throwing around would make even the most hardened Treasury official reach for the smelling salts. He's predicting a £330 million loss in revenue over the first 5 years if this tax hike goes through. That's not just pocket change. That's the kind of money that could buy you a small country, or at least a very nice castle with a moat. The industry is also warning about nearly 3,000 jobs at risk in the first year alone, which is like wiping out the entire population of a small market town. But wait, there's more financial carnage to unpack. The horse racing industry employs around 85,000 people and contributes £4.1 billion to the economy. That's not just significant, that's absolutely massive. We're talking about an industry that's worth more to Britain than some entire sectors, and Reeves is apparently willing to risk it all for some extra tax revenue. It's like killing the golden goose because you need eggs for breakfast. Technically logical, but catastrophically short-sighted. The political plot thickens faster than custard left on the stove when you realize who's actually pushing for this tax hike. It's not just Reeves acting on her own. Oh no, that would be too simple. The driving force behind this plan is none other than former Prime Minister Gordon Brown, a man who clearly hasn't lost his appetite for controversial economic policies. Brown is arguing that the extra tax revenue could fund the abolition of the two-child benefits cap, which is like Robin Hood, except instead of robbing the rich to give to the poor, he's robbing the punters to give to families. Noble in intention, perhaps, but the execution has more holes than Swiss cheese. The timing of this whole debacle couldn't be more dramatic if it was scripted by Hollywood writers having a particularly creative day. September 10th isn't just any ordinary Tuesday. It's a day when owners, trainers, and jockeys will abandon their racetracks and head to Westminster instead. Picture this. Instead of thundering hooves on turf, we'll have thundering footsteps on parliamentary pavements. It's like a medieval siege, except instead of catapults and arrows, they're armed with statistics and very stern letters. The financial hit from cancelling these 4 events isn't exactly small change either. The industry is looking at up to £700,000 in lost revenue, which is like burning money, except at least when you burn money, you get some heat out of it. This is pure economic vandalism in the name of political protest, and it shows just how seriously the racing world is taking this threat. What makes this whole situation even more absurd is that it's essentially a battle between 2 industries that Britain is genuinely world-class at, politics and horse racing. We're watching our government potentially destroy one of our most successful exports because they need money to fix problems created by their own political decisions. It's like watching someone sell their car to buy petrol, technically solving the immediate problem while creating a much bigger one. The betting industry response to potential tax hikes reads like a manual on how to make everything worse for everyone involved. Bookmakers are threatening to hike costs, cut bonuses, and slash advertising spending. It's economic warfare by 1,000 cuts, where every participant in the betting ecosystem gets hurt. The punters pay more, the advertisers get less exposure. The employees lose bonuses, and the horse racing industry watches their funding evaporate like morning dew in the Sahara. Meanwhile, Rachel Reeves is sitting in the Treasury, probably staring at spreadsheets that make quantum physics look like children's arithmetic, trying to figure out how to balance books that seem determined to remain permanently unbalanced. She's got spending commitments that would make an oligarch nervous, revenue projections that are more optimistic than an England football fan in tournament season, and now an entire industry staging what amounts to an equestrian rebellion. The broader economic picture here is like watching someone try to solve a jigsaw puzzle while blindfolded, wearing oven mitts, and being spun around in a chair. The government made promises during the election that sounded great at the time, but are now colliding with economic reality like a shopping trolley with a wonky wheel hitting every obstacle in the supermarket. Winter fuel payments, welfare spending, economic growth targets. They all sounded fantastic in campaign speeches, but paying for them is turning out to be trickier than assembling IKEA furniture without the instructions. What's particularly British about this whole mess is how polite the rebellion is being. Instead of burning effigies or staging violent protests, the horse racing industry is cancelling events and organising peaceful demonstrations at Westminster. It's like the most civilized revolution in history, where instead of let them eat cake, it's let them explain their fiscal policy in a reasonable manner while we express our disagreement through the cancellation of sporting events. The irony is thicker than London fog when you consider that Gordon Brown, the architect of this tax hike idea, was once Chancellor himself and presumably knows how challenging it is to find money in government budgets. He's essentially creating a political nightmare for his own party while trying to solve a social problem that his party promised to address. It's like being the arsonist and the fire department simultaneously. Jim Mullen's strategy of bringing the entire industry together for this protest is political theatre at its finest. By cancelling fixtures and marching on Westminster, he's creating a visual narrative that even the most politically disinterested person can understand. The government's tax policy is literally stopping the races from running. Its symbolism so perfect that political science professors will probably be studying it for decades. The timing also puts pressure on Reeves at exactly the wrong moment. She's already juggling more financial problems than a circus performer with vertigo, and now she's got an entire industry publicly demonstrating against her policies. It's like trying to give a presentation while someone keeps setting off fire alarms. Technically possible, but not exactly conducive to success. What this whole situation really reveals is how interconnected the British economy has become, and how seemingly small policy changes can have massive ripple effects. Raise betting taxes by 6 percentage points, and suddenly thousands of jobs are at risk, hundreds of millions in revenue disappears, and an entire cultural institution faces potential collapse. It's like pulling one thread and watching the entire sweater unravel. The horse racing industry's argument isn't just about money, though there's plenty of that involved. They're essentially arguing that they represent something uniquely British that's worth preserving, and that government policy shouldn't casually destroy cultural institutions in pursuit of short-term revenue. It's nationalism meets economics meets cultural preservation, all wrapped up in a betting tax dispute. As this dramatic standoff continues to unfold, one thing is crystal clear. Rachel Reeves is learning the hard way that being Chancellor during tough economic times is like trying to conduct an orchestra where every musician is playing a different song, the sheet music keeps changing, and the audience is throwing tomatoes. The horse racing strike is just the latest movement in what's shaping up to be a very challenging political symphony. Thanks for watching UK Pancakes today. If this tale of equestrian rebellion and Treasury troubles got your heart racing faster than a thoroughbred at Ascot, smash that like button. Subscribe for more political chaos, and drop a comment telling us whether you think the horse racing industry is right to strike or if Reeves needs a tax revenue more. Let us know your thoughts, and we'll see you in the next video where we'll probably be covering whatever fresh political drama erupts next in the wonderful world of British governance.